Well, I think that I think small organizations will still benefit from it, but ultimately, when you're talking a small organization like a pop-up shop or whatever, you're talking a very small entrepreneurial type business where the management is usually the owners, and they're usually running in 100 different directions at once. But I still think the
Mhm.
reality is because I've worked in that type of environment as well. Like I still think the reality is that the organization, even if it's 3 people or 5 people or 10 people, would benefit from the management, in this case, the ownership, taking that approach to things. And I honestly think that the ownership or the
Yep.
management in this case would benefit just even from the perspective of you might get a better idea, but beyond that, your employees are going to be happier. You're going to be less stressed out. Like if every time somebody gives you feedback, you're berating them. Well, that's not pleasant for anybody working for you. That's not even pleasant for yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to implement the idea just because somebody gives it, but I still think you'd benefit from fostering
Yep.
it and being able to communicate with your employees in a manner that is, calm, cool, collected, and constructive. Just
Yep.
even if it's, even if whatever they offered up was not helpful. There's no and you want them to tell you when they made a mistake. There's nothing worse than your employees hiding it from you.
Yep.
Because ultimately that, in the case of a vendor that supplies customers, ultimately that trickles down to your customers. When your employees are making mistakes and they don't feel comfortable to admit it, then you have no idea what maybe your customers are receiving on the other end. And if they felt like they could um, communicate that to you, you might be able to save a relationship with one of your customers because they might be flying off the handle at you with something that doesn't make any sense to you because you didn't realize that this employee made the mistake. Or you might be able to be proactive. And if you find out an employee made a mistake, and let's say you're shipping goods and that goods have shipped to your customer, it would be helpful if your employees felt like they could communicate that to you, and then you could be proactive, get on the phone to your customer or email them and be like, hey, somebody made a mistake on our end. You're going to receive a product that was wrong, or you're going to receive something that was damaged or whatever, rather than you arguing with the client after the fact when they get on the phone to you and say they had this problem. And
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
no matter the
Well,
size of the organization, it's still a productive practice to put in place. Maybe you don't prioritize it. Maybe it's not, you're not building a whole bunch of training around it, but I think
yep.
this speaks to the idea of trickling down from the top. You as a business owner or a manager in a small business could still implement these practices, and I think they will trickle down without the explicit training happening
Yep.
across the organization.